don't know. Like, I like just being alone a lot.
Yeah.
I'm definitely like I like my alone time, and I like to just that to be intimate to me. And like, I heard some celebrity said this. They were like, the more you give them, the more they'll take everything. And I'm not saying people are, he's like some big celebrity and they're just going to like constantly consume his life, like cameras and shit. But like, I don't know. I got the podcast. I share my life and stories and stuff like that. But like, that's to me all I need to put out there. Mm-hmm. Like having a camera follow me all the time would be like exhausting.
Yeah, as you said, unnecessary.
Yeah, unnecessary. I found the same too with me shooting gym content. It's like I find a pain in the ass sometimes to record myself. It's like I'm doing it to prove the point of like being consistent. Every day you show up, and you've got to do that so others can see you. Yeah. But it's like sometimes I just want to put my headphones in.
Dude, I'm good at posting burpee videos. Yeah. That's it. I just put my burpees
You're
up.
The best at that.
I'm like, dude, I got the angle set up. I know what I need to do.
Well, consider it taken care of, but let's do it.
Cool.
A little congested. What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. This podcast brings guests from all different backgrounds with all different stories and journeys, and sharing those with you on an authentic level. We'll dive into a bunch of different subjects as we progress through their journey that led them to where they're at today. So if you're interested in something like that, then this is for you. Keep watching. If you don't like that kind of stuff, keep watching. Get it out there. We appreciate you. And as always, we got my man Logan Hyder of Cinema 83 LLC in the house doing his thing.
That is I. Hello.
And today, we got a very special guest. Another very special guest. They're all very special. My man, James Hughes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Welcome,
Thanks, man. Glad to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, dude.
My good buddy Dylan introduced us. So
just the words
on camera, shout out to Dylan, bro.
Yeah, Dylan,
you are a G.
Yeah,
bro.
Dylan is unofficially the RP podcast scout.
Yes.
Because so far he's brought on killers, and we appreciate you, Dylan, because you were an amazing guest. One of the coolest stories we've heard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say coolest, but like the wildest. And also like just a really genuine person, but he's also connected us with some amazing individuals. I've got to talk to you for a little bit prior to this, and we hit it off right immediately, man. So already solid conversation. So I'm stoked to have you here, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's funny how people make introductions. Dylan walked up to me at the gym, never met him before. He said, "Hey," I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What's your name?" And from there, we started messaging, talking back and forth. He introduced me to you. Love what you're doing here in the podcast, and hopefully I can, shed some light on my story and bring some, good content for you today.
Dude, you're definitely going to bring some value, man. I can already tell. And it's funny you say that about Dylan. Like, he is the kind of guy to just walk up to somebody in the gym and say,
100%.
hey. Like me, I don't even, like, if I go to a commercial gym, I'm like, I don't even want nothing to do with anybody, but I just weird, like, I don't know.
No,
but Dylan's very forward with it, and I appreciate it, though. I mean, it takes balls to just be that way. So.
Well, and I always got to tell the story, do it really quickly, but Dylan, I just found him on Instagram randomly. And just the way that he posted things, he talked about it, I was like, dude, what's going on with you? He told me a little bit about him. Yeah. And I was like, would you ever think about coming on the podcast? And I don't usually, especially me, Joe handles a lot of the guest stuff, if not most of it. But I just was like, I just feel like, I don't know, something's there. And he had like 900 followers on Instagram. It wasn't like anything like that. And the story that I always bring up is that we had Brandon Curry on like right before that. And 1.5 million followers, world famous, all this other stuff. And Dylan's episode did like quadruple the numbers.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of the story. It was a powerful story.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong.
And Brandon Curry's was Brandon's was great too. Yeah. Like nothing against Brandon whatsoever. It's just crazy because like you would think, like you wouldn't think that would be the case. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the cool thing this show's proven is that like we talked about, everybody has a story and everybody can take something from it. And, maybe not a lot of people can relate to Dylan as far as like
shooting somebody in the face.
But they can relate to him in a lot of different ways. And, and it's really cool to see like someone with like 900 followers, get such a outreach
response,
on the response that he did on here. And that's fucking cool to be able to highlight those kinds of things, man. We don't need like the most famous, recognized people. And I don't think we'll ever need that. Sure. Over time, bigger guests will come on. Right. But it is not going to keep me from wanting people on, in the local level or whatever that like want to share their story. And
I found too, it's like when you're the more relatable you are, the more impact you have. It's like the amount of people that can relate to somebody with 1.1 million followers, massive, business they've built. It's very small.
Yeah.
I think they can share an inspirational story of where they came from.
Yeah.
But in the right here and now, it's like somebody, who's just an average everyday guy who's had a crazy history, like people can relate to that. And we talked about it before off camera. It's like when you can share your story, it's like you owe it to people to explain what you went through, how you got through it. That can help others. You know what I mean? So
exactly, man.
I'm a firm believer in sharing your insecurities to help other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, because at the end of the day, we all have them, you know, and like,
yes, we do.
You know, you're not like, I don't know, nothing surprises me, I guess, at this point, you know, like everybody's got their shit, and like you could say the wildest thing, and I'm like, man, like a lot of people have been through that too, you know, so I appreciate that, and it makes it authentic.
Absolutely.
You know,
I just want to throw in there too that Lydia and Cassie's episodes are by far the two biggest ones that we've done, and neither of which have like a big, huge, giant social media presence or anything. But they blew everybody else out of the water because both of them are incredible stories and they're very difficult to talk about. And like, so just goes to show you the power of a story. But anyways, what's up?
So,
what's up, dude?
So James, real briefly,
and
then we're going to take it back. We're going to go to the beginning, but briefly, just tell us what it is that you do right now. So,
James Hughes, I currently live here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm from Michigan. I am a real estate investor.
The great North.
Yes, the North. I'm a Northerner.
Yeah.
I'm
got them Yanks here.
Yeah, just
Yankee.
Careful with that. Those are fighting words.
I know, right?
I'm a real estate investor and an online fitness coach. So I've got a 3-year-old. She'll be 3 in a couple months. So I say she's 3. Daughter, her name is Parker. She is honestly the biggest reason why I'm doing so many different things right now with my life. She's been my motivation since she was born. But that's about it, man. There. I got a lot going on, but high level real estate investor, online trainer, and a father. Nice, man.
I didn't know you did real estate investing, so that's cool. I'd be interested to talk to you about that. My wife's actually doing real estate right now, so that's pretty cool. I don't know much about it. I'm just like, hey, babe, you take the reins with that, you know. But no, that's really cool. So it sounds like you got a lot going on, and you know, one thing I can relate to you on is that purpose as far as like a little girl goes. You know, being a girl dad. And, you know, being a parent in general, like how much that fires you up and should fire you up. You know, anybody that doesn't allow that to fire them up, you know, shame on you. That's just a personal opinion. But it's what I truly believe. But yeah. So, and we'll bridge into all those things later on. Now, James, more about you. Obviously, it started in Michigan.
That's right.
Take us back up there in the land of saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths.
That's not far from the truth.
Oh my gosh. Take us back up there and like, you know, to the beginning of your journey and take us, you know, through your childhood and what led you to today.
So from a smaller town, more country than city, Pinckney, Michigan. Not many people have heard of it. If you're familiar with Michigan, it's north of Ann Arbor. So, I mean, my whole life, I grew up playing sports. In, you know, smaller communities like that, there's not much to do.
Yeah.
Maybe a movie theater, you know, bowling alley, but primarily we all played sports. So I played basketball, baseball, ran track, and that really took up most of my life. Both my parents they're still married to this day, 40 years. They were a great example for me growing up. They really taught me a lot about work ethic.
Beautiful.
You know, and just valuing the things you have, working hard towards something and, you know, and appreciating it. It's funny, both my parents were at the time probation officers in Detroit. They moved out of Detroit to raise a family. It was way too crazy there.
Yeah.
And so my whole childhood, I had probation officers as parents. So we were the house that none of my friends wanted to come to because my parents were such hard asses. You know,
people say that it felt like that, but you literally
your friend walks in the house and they just hear bars slamming. They're like,
right behind them.
like,
It's like an episode of
someone
Beyond
throws
Scared
him like
Straight.
an orange outfit. Like, put this on.
Yeah, Beyond Scared Straight every time you go to his house.
It's funny you mentioned that because that was a little story. Before Beyond Scared Straight was a story, they pulled that shit with me.
Of course.
I was acting up in school, and they pulled me out of school. My parents came and picked me up, and my mom was like, "Get in the car." I'm like, "Oh shit, here we go."
For anybody that doesn't know, Beyond Scared Straight was a TV show. They took kids into jail to try to scare them, basically.
Yeah, and so part of her job was to go to the prison and talk to her, you know, parolees and people on probation that were on probation but now are in prison. And there was actually a prison by her house. It was like 2 miles down the road. So she gets me in the car and she drives down to the prison. I'm like, "Where are we going?" She's like, "Just, you know, be quiet." And she pulls up to the front. She's like, "All right, get out." I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Get out. This is where you're going to be for the next handful of years if you keep acting this way. And I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to get out. So she, really they instilled just a level of like respect from a young age in me. And so that really kind of carried on throughout my life. But I always tell my friends that, and they always get a good laugh out of it.
I mean, I think it's good to shake people up a little bit, man.
Yeah.
Especially your kid. Like, if they're acting up, like, why the hell not do that, you know? Because at the end of the day, you are showing them the glimpse of, like, a possible outcome if they're acting a fool in life.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's not unrealistic for someone to face. So
yeah. But so growing up, I mean, I found my sport. It was basketball. I'm 6'6". I'm a big guy, so naturally, basketball was my sport. I played all through high school. I was good enough. I played college basketball. I went to a small Division III school in Ohio. It's called Wittenberg.
Okay.
It's a D3 school. It's good competition, but really that's kind of where I would call it my story started, with just where I'm at today. And it typically revolved around just injuries related to my back. So I have had 3 major back surgeries before 29. So when you're talking about your spine, it's broken up into different discs. So they identify your disc based on the vertebrae above and below it. So your L4, L5, and then L5, S1. Those are your 2 lowest discs in your back.
Yeah.
Basically, I've majorly herniated both of those 3 different times throughout college and after college. And we can get to it later, but that's really kind of helped, put me in a position where I'm at now, where I focus on health and fitness, and I really want to help others because I know what it's like to not have your health. Yeah. I know what it's like to be in pain every single day.
Feel that.
And so when you can take, the hardships of your life and turn it and try to help others, because you know what it's like, that's what I'm passionate about today. So
how did those injuries happen, or how did that build up, or whatever it was?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just college basketball. 2-a-days,
going up and down, hitting the ground every day.
Floor. I mean, there are some big dudes. Like I'm pretty big myself, but there was guys 6'9", 260, pushing up against you.
What position did you play?
So in high school, I was a center because I was the biggest on the team. So naturally, the coach put me on the block. But in college, I was a 3-guard, so I could shoot, I could handle the ball. But it was just the repetitive nature of just 2-a-days, weightlifting. And then
probably not focused on the recovery as much.
Not listening to my body.
Yeah. And funny story about basketball, like my dream just shot down quick. My parents, I never forget that we left the game, and I remember overhearing them talk to my coach, and they're like, I don't think this is for him. And I'm sitting there like, damn, dude, I suck. And, thanks mom and dad. But no, football was my thing. But anyways, I just think it's funny. Like, basketball shut down quick for me.
Yeah.
Jake yesterday, he played at Colorado football.
Okay, yeah.
And he had degenerative disc disease and had to medically retire. Like almost very similar story so far.
Almost paralyzed his legs. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember in sophomore year, freshman year, as the end of the season. I was in so much pain. I was living in the dorm at the time. I was taking Vicodin every day just to get through the day. I was drinking every single night, trying to do anything to cope with the pain. I literally had to have my roommate put my shoes on, my socks on for me in the morning because I couldn't get up. I was in so much pain. Sitting through a 2-hour college lecture, and you can barely.
Just aching.
I talk about it just like I lived in 5-minute increments. It was, how do I get to the next 5 minutes because I was in so much pain? And I did that 3 different times. I would never wish that pain upon my worst enemy. If you've never had, any sort of major injury, you don't really appreciate your health like you should. Yeah. I talk about this a lot, is just how, I think everything that we do is from a place of a frame of reference, right? Yeah. The reason we're happy is because we've been sad, right? The reason we're grateful is because we didn't have something, and for me, I'm grateful for those times because it allows me to really appreciate the moments like today when I'm healthy. I woke up, I feel good, and it's like, it's hard to think about that when you're going through something really traumatic and stressful in your life.
Like you said, you couldn't see the 6 inches in front of your face. You were in so much pain.
Exactly.
So we got to that place of pain 3 times, is what you're saying?
Yep.
And to add on to what you were saying, I get that too. I talked to you about the wreck before this, and just, I'm constantly in pain, especially in my legs, my knees and shit. I've got terrible arthritis.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
But that appreciation you have for your health, like, I'm climb some mountains. I do bare knuckle boxing. I fucking burpee all the time. I lift, and and it still hurts every day.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, why do you do this and that? And I'm like, because I can. I can still push myself, and I appreciate that. Like, you just got to muscle through it a lot of times. But like, at the end of the day, because you're capable, why not harness that? And I think a lot of people that maybe have not faced that kind of adversity physically, they take that health for granted.
100%.
And it drives me wild, but that's why we're trying to sell that kind of mindset. You know what I'm saying? So
you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, when you have the ability to be a better person, to improve your health, to be an example for somebody else. And this kind of ties into being a father and why you show up every day. It's like, it's so like inconsiderate or selfish to not, we spoke on the phone a while back, and I talked about how, if everybody threw their problems out on the table, you got to see the problems other people are dealing with, you'd be scrambling to get your own problems back. You know what I mean? Yeah. And for those people that have the ability to do more, but they're just being lazy, they're being a poor example for their kids by, I'm going to start next week. They never do. Yeah. I'm going to get up early tomorrow. They never do. It's like, you're so selfish for doing that. And yet, the people like us who focus on ourselves, we're made out to be the selfish people. Yeah. It's like, you're only focused on you. It's like, well, that's not the case. And so I really try to express, to like the parents that, work with me, is like, in order to be selfless, you have to be selfish.
Yeah. Like, what good are you to anybody else, especially children, if you're not pursuing the best version of yourself?
100%.
100%.
Yeah. Conor McGregor.
Yes.
Whenever he was a much more inspirational type character. Yeah. One of my favorite sayings that he says, your lack of commitment is almost an insult to the people that believe in you.
Yes.
Yep. And like, you can't, if you're empty, how do you pour into somebody else,
Exactly.
Like, oh shit, sorry, nothing left for you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, that's a very important point to, point out, but,
so real quick before we go forward in your story, I know you said your story kind of starts right there, but I do want to know, siblings, did you have, I know you said sports was a big deal, but was that a thing that like your parents pushed, or was that something you did and they were supportive of, or what, like just a little bit more kind of on that?
Yeah. So I have a sister, she's 2 years older. She was a little bit more successful in basketball than I was. She played Division I in Michigan basketball. So growing up, we were both super competitive in the driveway, shooting hoops till it was dark out. Yeah. We're always getting in fights with each other, just super competitive. She played softball, volleyball. So we were always on the weekends in a tournament, practicing with each other either in the backyard or in the driveway. So yeah, sports was definitely a huge part of our our upbringing for sure.
That's cool, man.
Did your parents kind of look at that as a way for you to go to college?
So I felt fortunate that I never felt pushed by them to do really anything that they felt like they wanted me to do from their perspective. Right. It was all, if you enjoy this, okay, just do it to the best of your ability.
That's important.
So I never felt like they pushed anything on me, but they always supported, and obviously they were the one fronting the bill for all those tournaments. And
so thanks.
Thanks for that.
The other one that I like to ask, and then I'll shut up, is faith. Was faith a part of the household growing up?
Yeah, so we were, I was raised Roman Catholic. So from early on, I was baptized, catechism, 2-hour-long masses, went to confession. So that was a big part of, as a young age, middle school and high school. And then, as I got older, I kind of got away from the Catholic tradition as much. There were some things with, the Catholic priest, that I think everybody knows about, that really kind of, it's like, how can you preach this, high and mighty when, you're doing this shit behind closed doors? Yeah. So that kind of turned me away from that specific, religion. But, I think there's a higher power, and, everyone has their own relationship with whatever God that they believe in. Yeah,
we were talking about that a little bit before. Yeah. I was educating him on my standpoint of things.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool though. But well, that's good. I mean, you were raised a certain way, but at the end of the day, regardless of priest or whatever, there was those values instilled in you from your parents, perspective that like obviously played a part in your childhood.
Absolutely.
So I think that's important regardless. I think it's always something positive. But so fast forward to, the beginning of your journey, your new journey, I guess you could say, with those injuries tied in moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, really, college was really just trying to figure out who I was. I think many people go to college and they either rebel because their high school their parents are so strict on them, or they go and they focus on their education and they know their purpose. And for me,
which is a small percentage.
Yeah,
very, 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 very small. Yeah.
And so even after college, it was still just trying to figure out what I was passionate about, what I like to do. And the injuries just really played a huge part in just like developing like my identity, I guess, just because of, nobody else was living, in pain every single day. And when I talk about pain, it wasn't just like 2 weeks, had surgery. It was like years at a time, because I was in school and my parents were really big on, we want you to finish school. So I would have to go through the whole year dealing with this pain, graduate, and then in the summer, then I would have the surgery.
Were you still playing ball, or did you have to stop?
Yeah, so I played 2 years. So freshman year, I played the whole year.
Okay.
That summer, I had surgery, took the next year off.
Okay.
Played the next year, and then I re-injured myself, and then I had surgery that following summer.
Okay.
So it was kind of like I skipped a year.
So were they worried that if you had the surgery, it would take away from your academics?
So with Division III, you don't really get they can't pay for your scholarship, whereas D1, they can give you an athletic scholarship. So I had some sort of grant because the coach wanted me to play there, so they figured out a grant. So it wasn't so much that if I didn't play sports, the education would be taken away. It was more so they wanted me to finish school, because I was like, I was talking about dropping out. And to them, raised in the 60s, like college is a big deal. You know what I mean? Like that is the most important thing, is you get your degree.
Yeah.
And so they were really, stressing me on, let's get through school. So, but yeah, I mean, it's funny, the local Detroit News, they did a documentary on me because it was so rare for somebody my age to have that many, back surgeries at that young age. So, but long story short, I had 2 surgeries in college, and then there was like a 3-4 year time span after college when I had no issues. I was fine. And then it was like, it was probably like 5 years actually. And then just 2 years ago, I re-injured the same one that I injured, 7 years ago. And this is probably like the lowest point of my life, like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when my daughter was born. So I was going through all this pain again. And then I found out, my daughter's mother we were expecting a daughter. And so everything was just kind of like spinning, like I'm in pain. It was kind of unplanned, so all this kind of came out of nowhere, and I had a lot of decisions to make. It's like, what am I going to do? So I remember, it was like the lowest point for me when it was like the night before my daughter was born. I was in the hospital laying there, just in so much pain. I literally had to leave the hospital. I walked to the liquor store to get, a bottle of vodka to drink because I was in so much pain, and it was like, I still think about that today. I couldn't enjoy that moment when she was born because I was in so much pain. I couldn't be present in the moment.
Wow. So, yeah. You were you were drinking. Yeah. That's tough. That's tough to recognize.
Was there a lot of frustration there too, because you had gone through it and gotten like you thought it was over, and then
that was a big part of it too. It was like, I've been through this twice before. The first time I didn't know what I was going through. It was new, so I didn't know what to expect. The second time I was like, God damn, again? And then the third time, I was working full time. So that means I had to take time off work. I have a daughter on the way, and it's like, I know exactly what I'm about to face, And
how old were you?
28.
Okay.
28, yeah.
And how extensive is the rehab?
It was about a year, like fully to just get back to normal weightlifting again. After the surgery was over, like 2-3 months, and the pain was gone. So it was good there. But But yeah, it was definitely tough, and like I said before, it's just really helped me frame just and being grateful for today. It's, every day I wake up, I'm not in pain, life is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you were talking about you went to go get the bottle of vodka.
Yeah. So, I just drank that night because I couldn't, lay there without being in just excruciating pain. And so, just remember that moment is just very challenging for me because of, at the time too, I'm very open about it. Like it was unplanned, my daughter, and I kind of struggle with that. I was super immature as far as being ready to be a father, so I was really struggling with, coming to terms with I'm about to be a father. You know what I mean?
You weren't you weren't allowed to be like, you weren't excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like a combination of a lot of different things, know, and
Physical pain, mental stress, like financial because you couldn't work. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And then, like anything in life, you have choices, and, when she was born, I basically made a choice. Like, look, I'm not going to allow another man to raise her. So I decided to, be in her life, and to this day, it's the greatest gift that I never asked for. It's like it's the biggest blessing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
But so she was born. I had another surgery. Fortunately, I was able to recover, and then from there it was all about how can I be the best version of myself. It's like if I can't physically take care of myself, how can I ever take care of this little girl? And so that from that point on, that's been my biggest motivation. And from there, I built the massive real estate portfolio. I built the coaching business. And I'm proud to say I think I'm a good father for her. And a good example. So you got to find your why in life. And for me, I think at least the past 3 years, she's been my biggest why. It's really helped me.
I feel you there, man. I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, y'all are my why.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because it was a little different position for me when we had Aussie, right? And I was, when I met Lydia, I was like, okay, I'm going to be the most honorable, the best man I can.
Yeah.
Like this woman brings that out of me. And I'm very grateful for that. And, and I moved into this building and I'm like guns blazing, right? Well, then we found out, she's pregnant and we wanted kids like maybe like this year sometime. We were like going to start trying. I mean, it's not that we weren't trying, but anyways, what I'm getting at is,
I don't
like
talk about this, dude.
like I was like, anyways, long story short, grateful as hell. Like, she told me and I was pumped from that day, but then the pressure was on. I was like, well, the business is still new.
Yeah.
I'm in this building. So it's like, fuck, like, how do I step it up more, And I think the main thing there was for me, I was like, okay, like, I know I want this. Like, there's no question, there's no doubt about that. I think the biggest thing with me is like that pressure just to do better.
Yeah.
And it's just like overlapping. And like you said, you have a choice, man. Do you like just keep cruising, or you take a step back, or do you turn it the fuck up? And like, dude, I don't know. Lydia lit that fire, but then Aussie came through and it was just like pouring fucking gasoline on it, man. And it's just like, okay, like I got to go above.
How old is she now?
8 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
Already, which is crazy. It's like, that's not even that old, but 8
I
months
remember when
is
you told me that she was pregnant.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, dude, it's just wild as shit. This episode is brought to you by Desert Rose Arts. Check out at Desert Rose Arts on IG. My friend Danny, she makes these custom-made, handmade rune malas. There's all different colors, all different themes. She charges them with a lot of intention in order for you to harness that ancestral power and get deeper with the runes. There's 108 beads on each necklace with 2 runes engraved into each one, and I wear a couple of them every day. I have a variety of them. They're very special pieces, and you're supporting a small business. So check out at Desert Rose Arts on Instagram and use code RP15 at checkout for a little discount. Thank you.
Also, subscribe to the Patreon, and if you want to sponsor the show, let us know. All right, go.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, so I'm super active on Instagram, James Hughes Fit. So James_Hughes_fit. I train men and women, help you get in the best shape of your life, help you break any vices, break down any sort of mental roadblocks you have from where you are today to where you want to go. Shoot me a DM, James Hughes Fit.
Perfect. Solid. Good shit. I've just gotten like, dude, it's that repetition. Like even like the little intro thing I started doing about what the podcast is about.
Yeah.
I had to ask for some feedback. Somebody gave me some feedback about, hey, if someone clicks on your podcast and they just hear people talking about random shit. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I start doing that introduction, and honestly, like the first time I did, I was like, what the fuck? But now it's really smooth, and it gives people an understanding of like, all right, this is what this is going to be about. Yeah. And same thing with the ad read, like, but trust me, it wasn't always that pretty.
Yeah.
So I feel,
but you got it, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Because I try to shoot content myself, and it's like you fucking stumbling over your words, and like you like.
Oh yeah, you sent me.
you sound like an idiot.
He sent me a video one time of him doing like 30 fucking takes.
I mashed them together, and I'm like, motherfucker. I'm even cussing at Logan. He's not even here.
Yeah. He was like, God damn it, Logan. I'm sorry. I'll fucking. Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
You gotta blame somebody.
Self-recorded content's the toughest.
Yeah.
Like this is easy, but like when you're like at a camera facing you,
yeah,
and like you can see yourself a lot of times.
That's the thing is you're looking at yourself talking, and you're like.
Well, the thing that
and then I'm too serious, and I want to be serious about it. Yeah. So then I'm trying to be too. Oh man, it's this thing.
The thing that I tell my clients is that it's a psychological thing. It's public speaking. Everybody's afraid of public speaking. You know, people are going to see it, so it gives you the feeling of public speaking. Yeah. But this may not have to do with where you were at, but I'm just curious because I was thinking about the childhood thing earlier, and you said the Beyonce Restraint type example. How she dropped you off.
Yeah. So she tried to drive me off.
Tried.
We stayed in the car.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to drive me.
I was like, all right, I'll be good.
But so why did she do that? What were you like? What was going on in your life at that time that she even did that?
I think this was like in 8th grade. Are we?
Yeah.
You're
good.
Yeah, you're good.
This is like I think it was like 8th grade. I was just getting into a lot of trouble at school. I think that one instance, I think I tried to hit somebody with a stapler.
Nice.
Just doing,
Classic move.
Yeah, no. Very wise decisions as an 8th grader, but they just didn't like the path I was headed. The behaviors, I can't recall a specific. Instance, but
was it more just like normal growing up stuff, not like anything was really going on, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I've done more stupid things than most. There was this one instance when I was 15, I took my dad's car without permission. I had a little need for speed, and I totaled it. I didn't have a driver's license at the time. I was doing like 65 in the neighborhood, coming around a bend. There was a huge boulder, and I was in a run of like 6 mailboxes, and I just wiped them all out.
Dude, I did something similar to that in high school.
So it wasn't one of my more proud memories, but
That's funny as shit. I mean, hey, dude, honestly, I feel like a lot more people do those kinds of things. They just don't get caught. Like that's just fucking young.
Caught.
That's just like high school boy shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm asking: was it just more like being an idiot, or was there something going on that you were?
Yeah, it wasn't. I was ever malicious, hurting people, doing like super illegal things. It was just like they just want to make sure they're raising the right kid. And from where they come, they see the worst of the worst, right? So my parents saw the lowest life individuals that society has.
They're like, my son's a gangbanger.
He's like, so I think they just wanted to make sure that wasn't me. And although that may have been normal behavior from other kids, they see the worst, so they don't know, or they see what other parents don't see.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
they were trying to be preventative of that.
That makes sense. Their view on the world's a little bit different than
100%.
someone going to a regular 9 to 5.
100%.
Yeah, because they just see crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Well, so I'm curious, around the birth of your daughter, what kind of thoughts were going through your head? Like, were you thinking of other options or things like a way out or whatever? Because obviously you're not that person, but you've grown a lot since then, and I could see, I can hear that. But just share that with us.
Yeah, so I'm pretty open just about the birth of my daughter. At the time, like I was saying, I was going through a lot of my own personal struggles, being physically in pain, expecting a daughter. And at the time, I don't think I was mature enough to understand or accept that I could be a father. And with that, I really almost didn't want to be a father. So, the conversation of abortion definitely came up. Mm-hmm. It was something that I would, I was advocating for at the time because I was just so mentally not ready for that.
Yeah.
Because I hated who I was at the time. Yeah. I was in so much pain. I didn't like the person I looked at in the mirror. And it's like, subconsciously, it's like, how can I be a father if I can't even put my shoes on in the morning? And so, like I said, there comes a point in time in everyone's life where you have to make decisions, and I know how I was raised, and I saw my parents from early age, like they were always there for me.
Committed.
It's like if I have, a daughter, being brought into this life, I'm not going to let another man raise her. I'm not going to abandon her. And so in that moment, I just said, I'm going to step up to the plate. And like I said, fast forward 3 years later, it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, man. And, I can imagine this probably, I know how the feeling I get when I just look at my daughter, dude. I mean, there's just so many emotions every time. And I can imagine you look at her now and you think, oh my God, I had that thought. It'll probably make you feel sick.
Right. I was literally just about to freaking ask you that exact question. Yeah.
Her mother and I, we talk about it, and it's like, could you imagine like getting rid of this? This right now, it's like, no, it's like you said, it kind of makes you sick to even think about that.
Yeah.
Because of just how, amazing they are. And more so than just that's your little human, it's like how much more motivating they are to make you a better person.
Without a doubt.
And so, it's like I said before, it's the blessing that I never knew I needed.
And that's a fact, man. And the thing is, it's like those past things, this is important to touch on because, like, you're not that man today, and that's the thing. It's like at one point, when you saw your daughter, whatever specifically it was, you're like, I'm going to be a man of honor and I'm going to be that person forward. So you like, for example, people talk about karma coming back to you, and like to, based off like my beliefs, karma's not necessarily good or bad. It's based off merit and the honor of what you live with. So the more you with dishonor you live with, the more you pay for those decisions. The more honorably you live, you're able to relinquish past karma. So like the way I look at it is, okay, so if I'm moving forward the best I can be, and there's that intention's there, and I do the best I can and do good and all those things, then the past things I've done, they're a part of me no matter what. And I've learned from those, but I'm not paying for those because I'm relinquishing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I think we can always, it's at the end of the day, it's who we move forward being. But if you move forward with the expectation that something's going to come bite you in the ass, then it probably is.
Exactly.
Because you're not doing your best, And so I think back oftentimes on like my past and things I've done, being around the motorcycle world and I mean, I talked about like my ex in that situation. Like, now don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, like that shit sucked, like financially and everything, but I wasn't the best I could be there. There's girls I've let on in the past. I don't think intentionally. I just, was a little bit of a dick and selfish, and I was in a different mindset.
Yeah.
And, just things I've done, like I said, with the drugs and, beating people up and just dumb shit. That like, yeah, I'm not too proud of. Right. And I own that, man, but I'm not that person anymore.
Exactly.
And I won't be moving forward. And that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And if people would kind of move forward in life with that mindset, like, hey, I don't have to be what I was, and I can just use that to be a better version of that like 100 times, then you can make a lot of solid changes. But people let those things hold them back. They're like, I was this way. And it's like, do you have to be anymore?
Yeah.
Fucking think about it. So I think you made that decision, and here you are leading by example.
Yeah.
In a positive light.
Yeah. And we talked about too, just, a lot of people might say, why would you ever share that? Why do you share personal things? We've talked about it before. It's, if you can talk about something that was troublesome to you, I guarantee there's other people in this world that are dealing with it or it's affecting them, and so.
I'm going to have to read the poem, Joe. Go ahead. Sorry.
If you can, talk about your issues, and explain how it's going to be all right. Like, for instance, in that moment, I didn't think I was ready. There's probably a lot of guys out there right now who might not think they're ready to be a father. Yeah. I guess my message would be in that moment, it's like, you'll never be ready, even if you want a child. There's nothing that you can ever do that will make you ready to be a father.
Right.
Other than accepting and wanting to be there in their life. And so on the flip side, I went from, night to dark, night to, light.
Yeah.
It's just complete opposite ends of the spectrum. So, we need more good fathers in this world.
Yeah.
I think that's what it boils down to is, if you didn't have a father growing up, I bet you wish you would have, had one, and if you did have one, I bet you're grateful for him. So, just being there for her, it's pretty special.
Being involved and being intentional. I had someone listen to the podcast with my father. I want to have my dad on, and just talk to him. And someone even came to me. They're like, your dad's a good man. And, that's the kind of father I wish I would have had. And I was like, dude, that's so fucking cool. Someone said that about my dad. Like,
That's got to be the best compliment I've ever heard. Like, that's crazy. I wish my dad was like yours. That's awesome.
And here they are. They're almost his age, you know? And, like, they're saying that. And I'm like, dude, that's a really cool, it's a beautiful thing, you know? And that's the thing. It's that intention you put towards those kids. Because at the end of the day, like, trust me, there's a lot of times I'm like, dude, like, I know business having a kid. Like, I'm not making all this money, you know? Because I get a lot of pressure based on a professional standpoint because I'm still got a business, dude, and it's all on me.
Yep.
And, like, it's like, I had no choice but to go forward with it. And it's like, fuck, man, like, it's stressful as shit sometimes. But guess what, dude? I got everything. We got everything we need.
Yeah.
But, like, there's just those points I'm like, dude, I wish I was just in this position and then had a kid, you know? And, like, that way they don't have to worry. And, like, but she's not worried about shit, dude.
Yeah.
That's a fact, too. That's a fact, too. She don't know any of that shit.
She's
not worried
fed.
about
She's
anything.
loved.
Yeah.
She's taken care of. She's got all she needs, dude. Like, she doesn't, I mean, she's got a bunch of toys because people buy her toys all the time. But, like, we go somewhere and I hand her a Post-it note I grabbed from the fucking cashier or whatever, you know, or like at someone's desk, and she's like,
thinks it's the greatest thing ever.
It's so funny because the other day, it hit me like an epiphany of just like how much they just need you to be there and like smile and like be around them. It's like I had the worst day. It just, I won't get into it. Just a handful of things went wrong in the day, and it's like stressed out about business, relationship, all these different things. And there's a million things going on, and my daughter's over here just talking about how she wants peaches. It's like just how like innocent they are.
Yeah.
And they just need you. She's like, peaches, Dad, peaches. And I'm like, I laughed. I was like, I'm getting so like worked up about all this, and she's just over here just wanting to be, fed some peaches.
Some peaches, dude.
It was a funny, I don't know why it like hit me is like,
It's so simple.
It's so simple.
So pure.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, I just need to take a deep breath. Like, it's going to be all right. You know what I mean?
it is,
So
man.
I'm going to read this to you at some point, but actually that reminded me of the other thing I was going to bring up to you. So you play basketball.
Yes.
Your daughter's 3.
Yeah. Well, she'll be 3 in April.
So by chance.
April what?
Guess.
Early or late?
Later.
18th? 19th?
420.
420.
Got
420?
him. Got him. I knew it.
My daughter was 427.
Really?
Yeah, dude, right after that.
Very nice.
Hell yeah.
But Kobe. So when he died, the whole girl dad thing became a really big deal. I guess your daughter wouldn't have been born yet, but can you speak on that as far as being a man and having because obviously he has a daughter as well. But that became a big thing. And if you're listening, you don't know what I'm talking about. Kobe Bryant passed away tragically with his daughter, all this stuff. But he was extremely involved in his daughter's life. He was very outspokenly proud to have daughters. Mm-hmm. And most men, your wife's pregnant. What do you want, boy? You don't even think about it twice. And he said that he wanted a girl, but he's the only man I've ever heard that actually said he wanted a girl.
I want a girl.
So,
I knew I was a girl dad deep inside.
After he passed, this big movement people start posting pictures with their daughters, hashtag girl dad, this whole thing. So that was kind of around the same time ish. And just kind of your thoughts on that. I'm just curious.
No, so we spoke on the phone about that. I actually wanted a girl,
We got 2 of them.
at the time when I was talking about, wasn't ready for it, but I said, when I'm ready, I would like to have a girl. Mm-hmm. I think there's just something special about just, a little girl and her father's relationship.
Yeah.
It's hard to put words to, why it's special, but
yeah.
I think, women need a good role model, a male role model in their life to be shown how they should be treated by another man. It's like, I don't want to think about her dating right now,
Yeah.
She's way too young for that. But when she becomes of the age, I want her to fully know how she should be treated.
Bro.
And, the level of respect that she should expect from somebody else. That's what I want to instill in her, and it's like having a son would be awesome, but it's like, we're just, just my little bro.
Like you've already done that almost.
Yeah. So there's just something different about having a little girl. So,
and I get that. And it's so important nowadays, like good fathers for little girls, man, because man, I don't know, we're in a very weird society, and you talked about that. And the thing is, one, it's great that you're trying to work things out with her mother, right?
Yep.
Because that enables you the opportunity to show not only her how you treat her, but what's important is the relationship she sees between you and her. Mm-hmm. So, like, I stress the importance of, like, even now, even though Ozzy's so small, the love and affection she sees me share towards her mother is extremely important because that's going to be her expectation. But that same is showed towards her and, a daughter way, right? And so when she gets older, I've had people be like, well, boys these days, like, what about when she's older? And I'm like, dude, I'm not worried.
Yeah, she's
going to be fucking like cutting eyes. She's going to know what she expects. Like, she's going to walk to the car and the guy's going to get in the car and she's like, seriously? And I'm not saying, like, I believe in things like that. Like, I make sure I get the door always.
Always get the door.
And it's just things like that. And so, I don't know. Very important.
I brag on Joe a lot about something that he told me that he did. Obviously, she's 8 months old, but he said several times that he holds her and tells her he loves her and he's proud of her every day.
Yeah.
And so that reminded me of this thing that I saw where this guy was in the military and he basically asked this guy that he knew who was like openly just a man whore. He's just everything that's walking type thing. And so he asked him a very honest question. He said, I'm about to have a daughter. And he said, what can I do to protect her from men like you? And this dude's response was, tell her you love her. Because if you don't, somebody else will, and she will believe them.
Wow, that's isn't
that powerful?
That is crazy. It's funny that you said that because I do the same thing.
Really?
I swear to God, I put it on my daughter's life. Just last night, I've got this rocking chair in her room, and lately she's been a little clingy, so I've got to put her on my shoulder. I've got a selfie from last night. She fell asleep on my shoulder. But, when she falls asleep, I'll tell her, like, you're going to be, amazing. You're going to be successful.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does. He really does.
It gives you chills because I'm like, holy crap.
You're going to be a beautiful woman. I speak all these affirmations.
You're going to change the world. Yeah.
It's like maybe a dumb analogy, but there's been studies done on how playing upbeat classical music to plants, they grow and they flourish more healthy. You talk to them, the sound.
Pull your mic up for me.
You're a tall guy. So for me, it's like I don't know. I'm just doing it because I feel like I should be doing that stuff to her. And every night I talk to her and tell her, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. It's just something I do. And she falls asleep on my shoulder. I put her in bed.
Dude, I
go
think
about my life.
These things we're doing though now are going to have a massive effect on who they become.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, I was talking to somebody about a study with daycares and like that mirror psychology and stuff like that, and how detrimental that is to kids' development and whatnot, and their psyche. And so every little thing counts, like getting them outside all the time. Like that's important, dude. Get them into nature. Like they're going to appreciate that. They're going to love nature down the road, and just it's all those actions that are so small that are actually monumental into who they become in this world. So I fucking love that you do that because that's something I do every day, and I'm proud that I do that. So it's cool to hear somebody else share that same thing.
It's funny. Sometimes I don't do it, other times, but literally just last night, it was like, it was like 5 minutes. I was just talking to her. It's like,
we were at a
I was
park.
like, you know how much I love you? And she goes, yeah. It was like, oh my God.
Dude, I can't wait till she says it back too.
Yeah.
Like she's just like making noises and shit right now. But
we were at a mutual friend birthday party right after Ozzy was born, and shout out Danny. And Danny is a client of mine as well, and her dad is amazing. He's a really, really sweet guy. And Joe was talking to him for a long time, and he was telling him about how he does that or whatever. And I overheard Joe tell him something about like, she's so fragile, and I get really worried and stuff. All those kind of like, just had a baby for the first time, like, oh my gosh, freaking out. Am I, like you were talking about earlier, am I good enough for this? Can I do this? Blah, blah, blah stuff. And I don't know if you remember this, but I remember him telling you that, like, you worry about all those things. He said, really, the only thing that matters is that you love them.
Yeah, that's a fact, man.
I would add on to that. You can love somebody, but they might not know it. So I think it's more so than just loving them.
Showing them
that you love them.
Yeah.
And that's, it's like, well, I love you. It's like, well, how do I know?
Right.
You don't show it. So there's more to just loving somebody. It's you got to show them.
Well, people's words are so hollow these days.
Exactly.
So the actions needs to match those words. So regardless, 110%, man, show them you love them, prove it through your actions, but never, don't just say it, fucking prove it, because they need to feel what love actually is. Exactly. Because if you're sitting there telling you love them, but you suck, and then they go date somebody when they're older and they're an asshole, and they're like, but I love you. And they're like, oh, well, he loves me. And it's like, well,
that's
shit.
How my dad was.
And then you got to reflect and be like, well, what kind of example was I back then? Fuck, I jacked up.
Yeah.
So it's important to recognize those things, man. So moving forward, having a daughter I want to get into a little bit of like your profession and like obviously you chose fitness and whatnot, and that's important. And I think she's going to see that impact, and like that's going to be something that's embedded in her. In the real estate, I'm trying to.
Let me read the poem real quick. What do you think?
Yeah, okay.
So I've read this several times. I don't have any tattoos. If I were to get one, it would be this. I fucking love it, man. Have you ever seen Coach Carter?
Yeah.
Of course. So the kid, Cruz, reads this, the beginning of it. But the end of it is actually my favorite. So we talked earlier about Conor McGregor saying...
Our deepest fears.
Yep.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor saying that your lack of commitment is an insult. Another very popular saying that you may have heard before, with great power comes great responsibility. You're a father, great power, also great responsibility, etc. So here's the poem. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And this is my favorite part. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Yep.
And that's why it's important to talk about shit. Because whenever you're letting your own light shine, whenever you're liberating yourself from fear, people listen to it and it just gives them courage to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude. And that's good. I mean, I love it because Logan's like our little poet on the show.
No,
Dude,
yeah.
Yeah, he likes pulling out his poems. But they're good. They're relatable to the subject at hand. And, I had started to divert towards the profession, but I think we grasped that. I do want to stick on these kind of topics because I find them to be what's most important. Obviously, what you do for a living is important. But at the end of the day, anybody can go just listen to a fitness podcast, or, real estate and all that stuff. And so we got the picture, but I think, I haven't really got to have like a really long, in-depth conversation about fatherhood. And so obviously we share very similar views and like things that we do with that. I am curious, like moving forward in the world as she grows, man, the world is crazy. So when do you find it important to emphasize in her growth, in order to guide her?
Yeah, I think...
Besides, obviously treating her how a woman should be treated, but like,
I think...
expand more.
I think the way I was raised, I really, reflecting back, I really like it. I didn't ever feel like I was pressured or expected or forced to be a certain way, do a certain thing, or participate in a certain sport. And so for me, I want to expose her to as much as possible and let her basically decide what she likes. Yeah. So, we're actually this week we're getting her into gymnastics here in Murfreesboro.
Nice.
She's 3, so the amount of opportunities or activities she can do is very limited. Yeah. But I want to expose her to as much as possible. I think at a certain point, some sort of self-defense, whether it be karate or MMA, it's. I would love to have her choose her own life path, but it'd be hard to watch her being a professional fighter. Right? Yeah. It's like, so I'm not like pushing anything, but she's going to gravitate towards something and I'm going to support her. I think that's the best thing you can do is when I talk about like, I related to my Catholic friends. They went to an all boys Catholic school and the religion was shoved on them and jammed down their throats. Mm-hmm. And you do this. And then those same guys, when I went to college with, they were complete psychopaths. Like they were rebellious. They were animals because they had their own free will and choice to do what they wanted to. Yeah. And that backfires completely. So
without a doubt,
my opinion on how I'd like to raise her is give her as many opportunities to experience things, let her decide. And if maybe we should redirect her if it was not the best choice. Something detrimental, but that's my thoughts on it.
I think that's very important, man. I'm big on that as well. My parents gave me a little bit more pressure to do certain things, but not like too much. Mm-hmm. But it still was like I made a lot of decisions.
I mean, the Citadel was
in
like,
life. Yeah, I made a lot of decisions in life that were more about them and less about like what I wanted to do. Because at that point, I was like, well, I don't know what I want to do because I know like they'd like me to do this or go this route, and so you kind of lose yourself. And you know, so that I'm right there with you, like exposed to everything. I'm big on the MMA stuff, but more so, I'm going to get her involved in jiu-jitsu for sure. Cause like, she's not going to get her head busted with that, but I box, I'm going to teach her to box. I want her to have some martial arts training for sure. I think that's vital. But yeah, like expose her to everything, man. Like really pay attention to where her heart's at. And, you know, I find it to be a gift that like Lydia and I do have different beliefs. She's Christian, I'm pagan, right?
Yeah.
You know, really, I mean, value-wise and everything, like I said, it all aligns. So we're raising her the same, but we do have different beliefs, and that's very uncommon, especially in the South. Like people are always like, "How does that work?" And I'm like, "We just, you know, we respect each other, you know." But I think that's going to be such a advantage for her in this world because that's going to just teach her even more that hey, there's something bigger, there's something powerful, but like rather than feeling like she's got to be Catholic, right?
Yes.
And you're this. Like, no, you are like, let your heart guide you. That's your heart's gonna tell you what you believe in and what you follow. And, but you've got two great examples of different things right here in front of you. And so that's going to raise her to have a little bit more of an open heart and open mind. And I think it's really going to be a massive advantage for who she becomes. So I look at it as a gift because some people think, oh man, it's going to be hard. And I'm like, no, it's actually a really fucking cool dynamic. You know, I love it. So,
well, I mean, I think it's been proved just over time, looking back at what at that moment in time, people thought was the right path for you, right? It's like you look a couple generations back, it's like you go to school, you go to college, you go work at Ford for 40 years and you retire with a pension. Right, that is the best path for your life. You know, now it's, you know, you go, you know, you get a college degree, you become a doctor, a lawyer. You know, now it's like you start a business. You don't need college anymore. So it's like it's been proven that there's not the right path. It's what do you feel comfortable with, and what are you passionate about, and giving that your all. It's like the one thing I do want to instill with her. I don't care what you do. You can be, you know, a finger painter or pottery. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But you need to do it with everything you have.
You're going to be the best at it.
You're going to be the best at it.
Yeah.
You're not going to half-ass anything. And we don't quit at things. So if you start something, you know, you don't like soccer, you're going to finish the season out.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, it doesn't necessarily matter, but it's more so giving her the, you know, the understanding that she is in control of her life to an extent. You know, I'm going to push her in the right direction where she wants to go and build houses. She wants to be a construction worker. It's like, okay, you know, it's like, well, let's maybe try this instead. Right. I'm going to try to guide her as much as I can. But at the end of the day, like, you need to make your own decisions as far as what you want to do in life. Yeah. So, well, of course, this isn't, you know, 3, 4, 5. We're talking a little bit older.
Yeah, she just walking around the house right now.
Man.
He comes home and she's like, "Where have you been?"
She's late on rent this month. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I was thinking too, like when you were talking to your dad, and I don't know if you've had that conversation with him before, but you were telling him that day, you know, basically like I kind of felt like I went to the Citadel because I felt like you would be disappointed if I didn't.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably, if you have the right intentions and like the things that you guys are talking about, that's probably disappointing to hear, right? That's probably like the last thing you want to hear. You know what I mean? Like if
you only did it because of me.
Right, like the way you guys are talking about it, right? Do your own thing, figure it out, discover your own thing. So could you imagine, even like with that mindset, if later on they're like, honestly, Dad, I only did all that shit because you said, like, you kind of forced me to do it.
We talked about that in the past, you know, like, because, you know, I tell my parents all the time, I'm very open with them. I'm like, I'm where I'm supposed to be in life.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't do that. I had to make my own way. And my dad figured out a long time. Like, you know, I was like, told you, I said it on that episode, you know, when I was getting head tattoos, I was like, yeah, Dad, tattoo my head. He was like, oh, well, I wouldn't. He's like, you know what? You're not going to listen to what I say anyways.
I remember that, yeah.
Save my breath.
Yeah, so they understand that, you know, and I think they realized even before I've even said anything that, like, that wasn't my path.
Yeah.
You know, and they appreciate that. And, like, my dad's also, like, told me, you know, he tells me all the time how proud he is of me and, like, you know, keep pushing and everything.
I wasn't shooting a shot at your dad, just for the record. I'm just saying that, like, if I wanted freedom for my child and then I ended up forcing them to do something they didn't want to do, I would be disappointed in myself.
Oh, no. At the end of the day, they didn't force me. I think it was encouraged. I just made my own decision and choice to, like, do what I thought would make them happy and proud. And, you know, so I own that. That's on me, because I could have easily said, no, that's not for me.
Is that kind of means to me? I don't know anything about him and your relationship, you know, but it sounds like he was a good father if you wanted to, you know, make him happy because you respected the man.
That's on point, man. Like, yeah, I respected him. I've always had a massive amount of respect for my father, and the older I get, the more respect I have.
Yeah.
Because I've seen how devoted a family man he is and how much he sacrificed, and I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, that's the whole thing. Is
For the record, I was not taking shots at Mark, just so everybody knows. I was just
Mark's
using,
gonna be out front
I was just
tomorrow
using it
morning.
as an example. That's all. I wasn't taking shots at Mark.
my dad is so chill.
I love your dad, dude. I would,
Yeah.
I would never. I was just using it as an example.
No, he's the man. And I love him to death, and that's the whole thing. And he never doubts the respect I have. And I don't know. I think it's at the end of the day. And that's the thing. It's like it's one thing to force your kids to do something. It's like you're going to join this firm and you're going to do this and that. And you got kids that are in college like, well, if I don't fucking study this and get good grades, my dad's not going to let me join the firm, and I'm going to be. I don't know. It's like something I see in a movie or TV show, and I'm like, this kid's a fucking psycho. But
Jump out
parents
the
suck.
6th floor window.
Yeah, dude, no shit.
100%.
But like the thing is like my parents only were just, if anything, they were just encouraging me to like be smart about my decision, because like I try to put myself where they're at, back in, back in their day, it was all about like, do something smart, find a good path, job security. Well, now I realize, and even my parents realize, like job security is fucking fake. That's made up.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing. Retirement's not promised.
Yep.
Me for
Your dad's story's crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I almost died before I turned 29. Like, retirement's definitely probably not, promised, right? Like, those things aren't just like, what can I do now? And like, how can I go, all out with passion and whatnot? But at the end of the day, the intention is just to like, they just want the best for you, and I've always recognized that, and, just creating my own path. But anyways, enough about me and my shit,
It's great to hear this stuff too.
We have more opportunities too, than they ever had, and it's literally stuff that they don't understand in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, my dad, my parents, my grandparents have no fucking clue what I do.
It's funny you say that too, because I just had this conversation over Christmas with my parents about how, their path, I don't ever foresee myself going down. It's like working for the state for 40 years, living in one house without having any sort of investments and relying on a pension. And I told them, I was like, look, that made sense for you guys. And you were doing what you were taught. You were doing what you were exposed to and shown, and I'm grateful that you were great parents to me, but it's like, we have so much more access to information right now. And it's like, that's not the right path for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I started talking to them because when I got into real estate, at first they didn't understand it. It's like, you're buying a house in a state you've never been, in a property you've never seen.
Yeah.
Tell us about that a little bit. What you do with that?
Yeah. So I've got a real estate portfolio. I've got about 46 doors right now.
Okay.
Memphis, Cookeville, Alabama, and Iowa. So basically my first property I ever bought was $40,000. I call it a trap house in Memphis.
Nice.
The trap house in Memphis. I love it.
Years later, I found out that one of the old tenants in there was murdered by her boyfriend.
Oh, fuck me.
I didn't know that at the time, but
Yeah,
it
happens.
It's
Pretty sure they're supposed to
drug
disclose
house.
that kind of information.
Memphis.
It's Memphis.
Good old Memphis.
So I bought it for $40,000 with a hard money loan. I put $20,000 into it, so I took a loan out for $60,000 from a private money lender. Renovated it. I got the value up. Went to the bank, refinanced it. Was able to pay off the hard money loan, and then now I put a mortgage on it. So I went and did that a handful of times, and I got into multifamily. But where I was getting at is at the time, they didn't understand that, because for them that was risky.
Yeah.
It's risky putting your money into an asset or a house you've never seen, but in my opinion, it's like, it's risky not doing that.
Yeah.
It's risky not, trying to get ahead. It's risky relying on an employer for the rest of your life to dictate how you're going to live after you're 65.
Oof.
Right.
Yeah.
So I always say your lack of decision right now is the most risky thing you can do. Right. Being the same. It is so risky to take no action and be the same. It's like one of my biggest fears, honestly, is looking back after 10 years and realizing I'm the same person. I haven't grown. I haven't changed. Like,
I hate when people say like people don't change, or it's like, what?
That's such bullshit, man.
What the fuck does that even mean?
Or when someone's like, "You're different, man," I'm like, "Thank you."
Yeah, exactly.
I am.
Facts.
Exactly.
Appreciate that.
Crazy
Yes.
idea that you don't change.
Dude, people, but everybody, dude, it's all like everything with the career, with whatever, how you raise your kid, it all comes down to choice.
Yes.
We all have a choice. We could be a cheater or not a cheater. We could be a liar or not a liar. We could do, like, it's all comes down to one simple.
Yeah.
We can look at our family situation, our upbringing, and be a product of that, or we can fucking be better and be the example, like separate from that. It all comes down to choice, and that's the whole thing. And I think, you can, nothing wrong with like, if you got a career you love and like, that you like that. I mean, I can't knock that. I don't understand it. Like I want to fucking pursue my own thing, but either way, make the choice and make sure it's your choice and you can live with that. And I'll look back and be like, fuck, dude.
I think too, it's funny when you said, when people change, like you haven't seen a friend in years and they say, man, you're different. Like you've changed. It's like when somebody that you knew growing up, they see you completely different. There's usually two reactions you get. Yeah. One is like, fuck, dude, that's motivational. It's like, you've done this, this, and this. Like, dude, tell me about that. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you've got the people that they came from the same place as you and they see you've changed and good changes. You've done more for yourself, and they see that, and immediately they get insecure because they have not done the same. They have not been able to do more for themselves, and it's like, that's on them, And so part of that quote you just read, it's like, I'm not gonna, dim my light because it's gonna offend you. It's like the reason you're offended is part of your own insecurities, and if you're gonna take it out of me by saying, talking like you're different, like you're not the same you used to be, blah, 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 putting you down. It's like, that's all on you, my man.
Bro, and it's crazy, like, to think, it's all on them.
100%.
Like, typically when people express some kind of negative comment or feeling, they're just self-projecting. That's like typically what they answer. That's what it is. And, I had a falling out. We had a guy, a part of our crew, and, he stopped talking to me and just totally fucking walked away from it. And it really broke my heart because I'm like, dude, I loved you, man. And, and like we were really close, all these things. And I never even got to like have a word with him. And it was just very cowardly as well. And he told one of our guys, one of my brothers, he was like, what he had told him is that Joe the world's fucked. Joe's too positive and sees too much good in it. And like he hated that about me, that I just looked at the world in a beautiful way.
That is a miserable.
And I was just like,
miserable
dude,
person.
that actually breaks my heart even more. Not for like our friendship ending, but for him, man, to feel that like that the world's that. And I'm like, dude, I couldn't live with that, man. And I'm like, well, shit, no wonder like he's not in my life anymore.
I was just gonna say that it's like that happened for a reason.
Yeah,
it's like that sort of mentality is what pulls people down.
Mm-hmm. And there's too much of that going on anyway. But the thing is, that's honestly, when it comes down to it, obviously the people I associate with like are pretty positive people, but that is a pretty common thought process nowadays. That's why shit's so grim, and like there's a lot of people are thinking like, fuck the world. There's that very nihilistic, dark, pessimistic mindset. And so it's unfortunate. So we got to lead that a totally opposite way. But
one of my other favorite things that Connor says is he's talking about his journey and basically people criticizing him. This is before some of the more serious things, but this is just people talking shit. Exactly what we're talking about. And I can't remember it verbatim, but essentially he says, there will be some people that look at this journey and they will take inspiration from it. Mm-hmm. There will be other people who take it or who look at it and they critique it. He said, but one thing's for certain, the ones who take inspiration from it will also rise up and experience these things. And the people that sit and critique it, they will stay where they are.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Amen. Amen.
You'll never meet somebody that's doing better than you that's going to critique you.
Oh, yeah. Right? That's true. What I mean? That's true.
And if they do, that's called a bully. If they punch down, that's called a bully.
That's right.
Bullying is part of it. No, but I do got a question, though. So, we're getting towards the end of this. I want to ask, is there anything, off the top of your head that you want to make sure to touch on, before my final question?
Nothing specifically. I don't think so. I'm just more so, a big advocate for no matter where you're at today, no matter what your past has been. I wouldn't say by any means I've had a hard upbringing. I wouldn't say compared to some of your other guests, but no matter where you're at today, you can do more. You can be better. We have so much more potential. It's crazy. And the only reason why you're not where you want to be compared to where you are today is the things you tell yourself, right? If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to. Yep. No one's going to give you a better life. No one's going to be there for you. So my message to all my clients, people I work with, is trying to get them to think about themselves differently.
Yeah.
You know, just believing that you can do more. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like we're sitting in this room right now. You've become very successful from, you know, your past, but it all started from an idea, a thought in your head that says, you know, I want to impact lives. You've got a training facility in back. You've got, you know, thousands of dollars of microphone equipment in this room that you rent out, this great compound. And it started with because you believed that you could do it.
Yeah.
And look where we're sitting now, right? So it's,
Oh yeah.
that's my message is just, you know, you have more to give. You just stop believing in your previous behaviors. You know, I've always been fat. I've always been lazy. I've always been this. It's like, if you keep telling yourself that, that's going to be your reality.
That's a fact, man. And dude, I love that. And I appreciate that, dude. And you know, even you know, look what you've created. And, you know, just to think that a few years ago, you had this mindset of like, you know, you had to drink some vodka and like, I'm not ready to have a kid and all these negative things to like, dude, you wouldn't even think that's you because now you're talking about being a father and it's just like a whole world of difference. But you made that choice.
Exactly.
You realize like I'm capable of being a fucking exceptional father and I'm going to do that. And you're showing that truly. And that's the whole thing. We're all capable of so much more than we truly believe.
Yeah.
And even if we got hangups, man, you know, like I'm an advocate for therapy. I go to therapy, you know, because I've still got shit internally I have to work on that I do feel is holding me back, but I'm progressively taking action to correct that in order to be better and unleash the full potential. And there's all these
powerful beyond measure.
Yeah. There's always avenues to move forward though. That's the whole thing. So there's no excuse. And like, you know, you said that and I thought about the potential thing and I always talked about this, you know, I'll talk to my wife and I just get frustrated with people.
With
and
people?
With
With other
people.
people?
And she's like, well, you know, they're not going to think how you do. And I'm like, yeah, but my biggest pet peeve in the world is fucking wasted potential.
Yeah.
Because I just picture like people dying and then there's just like these clouds of potential just floating up into space. And you got this whole other galaxy of just potential that's floating around there. That's just how I visualize it. And like, I'm like, oh, like, because I don't know, man. I hate things about humanity that people do, but I love human beings. I love humanity. I love people. And so I want people to all excel because I know they can live the life. Like there doesn't have to be so much misery. Yeah, we're not going to get through to everybody, but that's the point is like right here, this conversation will hopefully at least click with one person and help unleash that.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you sharing your perspective on all these things because I think
Absolutely.
without a doubt it will. You know what I'm saying? So
Before you ask your closeout questions, I thought of a question that I asked Jeff Burgos we had on recently. He became a champion like 30 years apart. And I think it's probably a good question for a lot of people, but like he brought the night that he went to get the vodka, made me think about this. So you kind of take it whichever way you want to interpret it, but the crux of the question is that version of you that night, he sees you're sitting here right now. What do you think that he thinks?
You're saying that myself and that night.
The night before your daughter was born, you go by, or the night your daughter was born, you went and bought a handle of vodka because of the pain you were in. You weren't even sure if you could do this.
So that guy was sitting here.
That guy was sitting here looking at where you are now. What do you think he'd say? And would he be proud?
I was just going to say, I think he would be proud because in that moment, I told myself I would do anything to feel different. I would do anything to, you know, be able to, be present. I would do anything to be able to think about my problems more logically. It was hard to process information, so I would say I'm proud of being able to fully accept, take responsibility, become as a man and become a father and a good father, and really just, cut out a lot of the bad decisions, I was making. Yeah. So I would probably say, he would be proud.
I'll tell you what, I don't know that guy, but I'm fucking proud.
Yeah, me too.
Hell yeah, dude.
Me too.
Good shit, man. Hey, well, then I appreciate you sharing that, man. And my last thing, I ask everybody, and this could be both professionally and personally, if you want to share them both. What is your relentless pursuit?
My relentless pursuit. What I would say would be that it's you versus you, right? So I guess my relentless pursuit isn't comparing myself to your success, to this person's success, this person's success. It's every day before I lay down to bed, asking myself, did I hold the promises that I set for myself today? Did I do the things that I needed to do? Did I show up and give my all? Some days were worse than others, but did I give everything I could every single day? And that in turn is going to evolve into the best version of me, continual growth. And then what I would say is the goal ultimately is I'm going to rub off on others, and specifically being a good example for my daughter. So I guess the relentless pursuit is just that, a pursuit every single day to be the best version of myself, never break promises I set to myself, and enjoy it as much as I can. I think my biggest problem is I don't enjoy the moment enough. I'm always looking for what do I have to do tomorrow? Like, it's 11:06. I know I've got to do this, this, and this afternoon. Yeah. It's thinking about what's next. And I'm trying to work on pursuing being in the moment.
Well, we can work on that together because that's something I've been working on a lot, dude. So we share that because you're a vision guy. And so it's hard to be present when you got to like do these things and you want to fucking crush it. But like, dude, it's like being, I was writing about this, but I was telling my dad, I was like, I just want to be in touch with you more. So I'm calling them and, like they live up there like in Lebanon, but like I'm being in better touch because I have no excuse not to be. And I'm like, I equated being a fucking racehorse, man. Just blinders and just going.
Blinders on,
dude. And it's just blurred. And it's just like, fuck, you get that. There.
That's
and
a good one.
People over there waving at you like, hey, I gotta get there first, but like at the end of the day, man, like
I like that analogy. It's, racehorse with blinders on.
Racehorse with blinders on, man. It's okay to like fucking, take a look at the views and like really bring things in because you can still win. You can still get there first. You just gotta fucking pay attention a little bit. So I just try to like really focus on it. Dude, we'll talk more about this. Yeah. We'll just check in on each other every week. But hey, dude, are you present?
Yeah.
I got one more saying for you.
Oh God, here we go.
Based on your relentless pursuit. It's not a poem, don't worry.
He said, oh God.
Just one sentence, don't worry.
The dynamic, you love it.
But true nobility is being superior to your former self.
I like that.
Nice. That's good shit.
True nobility is being
superior to your former self.
I like that.
Love it. Thanks for that, Logan. And that's a beautiful way to close. James, thank you for being here, bro.
Yeah, man.
It was a pleasure. I'm honored to have had you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude.
It was great meeting you. You guys. You got an awesome setup. You're doing great things, impacting a lot of people. So I'm, glad to be a part of it.
Dude, glad to have you, man. And, we'll have you again one of these days, see where you're at in life, see where your daughter's at, see what's going on. And, we'll be following your journey. And I know you're going to be hitting a lot of lives as well, man. So until next time, thank you.
I appreciate it.
See you guys next time.
Sir.